Alright, so a lot of people don't know, at least I'm from YouTube, that during high school, well, the last year or two of high school, that I was a auto mechanic for a good while and learned quite a few things over the years. And while we're up here in New Jersey, I'm going to clean the throttle body out of a 1999 Chevy truck. Yep. And symptoms that you need this done is like if you start the vehicle up. This doesn't just particular to this particular, or it's not just this particular vehicle. Lots of different makes and models can do this, but if you're sitting at an idle and you're driving and you go to stop and you notice that it almost wants to conk out on you, it sounds like it's just not idling high enough. That kind of thing, or when you first start it up, it doesn't want to idle properly, but it drives just perfectly. And I'm talking about a computer controlled car, so we're talking 1990s on up, basically, you could say, fuel injected type of vehicle. But they all still have the throttle. I think it's my memory is still working right. I think it's called the throttle body. Even though they are separate fuel injectors, there still has to be the entry point of where the air enters the engine. So a lot of time it gets caked up with little black carbon crap, and that stops the fuel, or the air from flowing properly through the throttle plate, which is cracked open slightly. Even at idle, it's cracked open slightly. There's also what is called an idle air control motor that also helps set the idle, but that thing can only do so much. If that throttle plate gets too caked up, that thing can try all it wants. It's not going to do anything. It's still going to run, idle bad, and it may want to conk out on you. So your engine will look something similar to this, maybe not exactly, but you can see this tube here. That's where the airflow comes in off the air filter, past the mass airflow sensor, which you don't need to mess with this ever, or clean it. You don't need to touch that. Through this tube, right into this throttle. And you can sit here and you can actually, in this particular car, you can see this, the throttle is operated through the gas pedal with this piece that I'm touching with these cables. So I've got it wide open throttle right now, which if this car was on, the engine would blow because I would be holding this down, which is why the engine is not running. And when you do this, you do not want the engine to be running ever. So I just want to show you that it may be easier if you have someone with you, that they can just go sit inside the car and press the gas pedal all the way down to the floor. Once you take this off and once you start cleaning it, which I'm about to show you next, of course, again, the engine is never ever to be on, so don't even have the key in the ignition. Have the keys in your pocket while you're out here so that you know that engine cannot be started. So I'm going to stop this video for a second so I can take this hose off and show you what it looks like. Alright, so here's the piece I just took off. This is the side that connected to that mass airflow sensor. Just one simple little unscrewing here. And then this is the side that went into that throttle body, or whatever it's called. And this is what it now looks like with it off. So when I open the throttle, you can see that the butterfly or the throttle plate is closed. And when I open it, this would be as if you stomped on the gas all the way down. This is what happens. Again, the engine's off, and this is always to remain off. And you can see that black, see where it closes? It's black back there. It actually starts about maybe a quarter of an inch in front of that. So like right around here, is where that black stuff builds up. But it really builds up just past, and actually where that plate is nice and closed. And even though I'm opening this, you probably can't see that good in there. I can actually physically see a line all the way around exactly where that throttle plate, that butterfly, whatever, goes in a circle. So that does need to be cleaned. Now, you'll usually find also right on that throttle body somewhere is going to be a little motor with wires on it. It's a little electric motor with some wires on it. Could be 2 wires, could be 3 wires, could be 4 wires, whatever. This one has got 4. Matter of fact, it's probably going to always be more than 2 wires, because it has to go forward and reverse the motor. So it's going to be at least 3 wires, possibly 4. This one has 4. This one has a Torx bit head on this side and the other side that you would unscrew, and this thing will pop right out. You can also clean that with the carburetor cleaner, which is what I've purchased right down here. Carburetor cleaner. Even though this isn't a carburetor anymore, it doesn't matter, it still cleans it just as well. What you want to do is get an old toothbrush, exactly the kind you'd brush your teeth with, and of course you're never going to use it again. That's why I said get an old toothbrush that you can afford to throw away, and have someone sit inside. It's easier really if they do that, rather than you try to spray it and hold this with one hand. It's just not easy. So they'll go inside the car, step on the gas, this is wide open, and you will just scrub all up in here, all the way up in here, up at the top too, just all the way around where that throttle plate is normally closed. Just get in there real good with the carburetor cleaner. And you can even wipe it with like a rag or something like that. You know, that carburetor cleaner dries up pretty well anyways. It's okay if the engine sucks in some of that stuff, it's not going to hurt it afterwards. And you're going to do the same thing if you take this off. A lot of times just cleaning this is sufficient. So if you don't want to take this off, then you don't have to, and see what happens. Did it fix the problem is what you're looking for. If not, then maybe you want to come out here and take that off. Now again, this particular car has a Torx bit type of screw. That doesn't mean that every car is going to have that. A lot of the Fords in the 1990s were absolutely notorious. The old F-150 trucks, some of the Crown Victorias, the older ones in the mid-90s, early 90s, man, they were notorious for caking up and just falling on their face. You'd go to a stoplight or a stop sign, and they would just fall. I mean, right there, just stall out. And it was just such an easy fix. And I mean, we'd hear about people taking their cars in to get fixed, and they're replacing sensors and replacing the idle air control motor. They're just getting, I mean, they're in the hundreds of dollars. We still can't fix this thing. They take it to my boss, who was a genuine, you know, nice guy, and would fix it exactly what the problem is. Don't have to have any parts. You don't need anything. I just need to clean this out. You know, half hour worth of labor, whatever, done. And you know, miraculously the car runs beautifully again. Whereas they got taken to the cleaners everywhere else they went. And you know, even if someone's going to take somebody to the cleaners, for God's sakes, if you're going to replace some sensors and charge hundreds of dollars to do this, which shouldn't cost more than like 40 bucks or something, at least clean that too, so at least you tricked them and said, hey look, it fixed it. You know, the bottom line is they don't know what the heck they're doing and just taking people's money. Kind of reminds you of some of the churches out there, doesn't it? So anyways, I'm going to go get the toothbrush now, and I'm going to have someone come out here and hold this open so I can clean it and show you what it looks like. Alright, so I just got done cleaning it. Hopefully you can see at least the difference from what I filmed a minute ago of how much cleaner that looks. I also went ahead and took this off and cleaned it, the control motor itself, idle air control motor, as well as this hole that it fits into. I sprayed that with carburetor cleaners, went all around that with my toothbrush. So that's it. And usually once you start the vehicle up, go for a little test drive, you'll know right away, since you drive it every day, is it fixed or not. If it's not, then this wasn't the problem. But at least this is pretty much free, and you don't have to go get raped at an auto dealer who couldn't figure this out and then started replacing stuff. And you know, like I said, end up taking advantage of you because they didn't even know what they were doing in the first place to even look for something like this. That's so simple. So anyways, hope this helps somebody.